I'm Jennifer Sanasi. You're watching News 24 Live. I'm joined in studio by our resident doctor, Dr. Darren Green. And today we are answering your social media questions. Hello.
Hello, hello.
I'm always fascinated when you answer people's social media questions.
Right.
Sometimes because of the questions and sometimes because of your answer.
Good, good. Keep you guessing.
Yes. So let's get into this one. This News 24 user says, what can you give a 10-year-old for insomnia as melatonin was taken off the market? Now, what's scary about this is I can't imagine having a 10-year-old who can't sleep.
Yeah, everyone refers to babies and infants and toddlers really as having sleeping problems. But you know, insomnia in itself is quite a complex issue to deal with, and the reason for that is just the facets of looking at what the cause is in specific people, and in this case a child, are very, very, very detailed and complex. One is to spend time analyzing, for example, the onset of the insomnia. When did it start? The progression of it. Did it get worse over a period of days, hours, or has it come on over years? One certainly has to delve into the history, the family history of genetic. Get ones that have a genetic link, for example, where people in families have been struggling to sleep from childhood right through till adulthood.
Wow.
And that involves obviously the neurotransmitters in the brain. Now she mentions an interesting topic, which is melatonin. Now the brain has a little gland in it, a small gland the size of a peanut really, called the pineal gland, and it releases melatonin, which she mentioned. And melatonin is the hormone that is involved with regulating the sleep-wake cycle. So what is interesting is it responds to light. So the amount of light that is perceived and penetrates, for example, the eye and so forth, has connections to these pathways in the brain that stimulate the pineal gland to release the hormone at certain times.
Oh, wow.
So it's incredible how our bodies then learn to regulate what we call the sleep-wake cycle, knowing when it's day, knowing when it's night, and how this hormone then facilitates us falling asleep when it's dark outside. What is interesting is when you're looking at sleep hygiene and insomnia, you need to obviously pay some attention to the environment that you're in. And sleep hygiene itself refers to looking at things like the temperature of the room, looking at the level of darkness in the room. You shouldn't be able to see your hand about 30 centimeters in front of your face in a truly dark room because, as you can imagine, the light has an effect on the amount of neurotransmitter released in the brain. So melatonin certainly has been utilized in the past for things like jet lag, for treating insomnia in different age groups. It's not considered an evidence-based part of dosing or treating insomnia in terms of the correct dosage, how much to give, what the toxic effects are of giving too much and so forth. So it is a little bit dangerous in the sense of that trial and error method.
Well, she says it was taken off the market. Is that true?
It was taken off the market for a period of time, but it certainly still is available in certain formulations. Different brands and different formulas in terms of which precursors to melatonin are certainly still available. But as I said, one must look specifically at how do you judge the individual profile of someone? How much melatonin does a 10-year-old need compared to a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old? And what are the side effects that you need to look at? Because you know, when you start dangling in chemical balances in terms of neurotransmitters and hormones, it's certainly something that you want to base your decision on as a parent based on what we call evidence-based medicine, where you know, you don't take any chances and run the risk of adverse effects of using too much of the drug. But certainly the anecdotal reports on using melatonin for things like jet lag have been proven and shown beneficial to many people, but not everyone responds to it. So when it comes to her treating a 10-year-old, one would certainly want to go and look at a very clear, definitive history and look if there aren't any medical causes first. Because if this is a secondary insomnia, in other words, it's secondary to a medical problem, the only way we're going to treat the root cause is by finding out what the medical problem is. If there isn't one, then sure, one could look at a primary or a genetic insomnia.
So
and those are difficult to treat.
So we have to properly assess the situation. And if it is a genetic insomnia, you say it's difficult to treat. Why?
It is. It's very difficult because there's almost a resistance of certain receptors in the brain, you know, to down-regulate function for sleeping. So there are two forms of insomnia. You get difficulty initiating sleep, where you struggle to fall asleep at night,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have difficulty sustaining or maintaining sleep, where once you've woken up, whether it be 3 or 4 in the morning, you struggle to go back to sleep. So, as a parent of a young child that's 10 years old, I'd really advocate that we start first with a really detailed history and examination, medically first, and when that's done, one can then plan conscientiously with, and in this case, a pediatric neurologist would be the right person to consult.